Hello and welcome to another episode of Cybersecurity Awareness TV, episode number 399. That's right, folks, 399 episodes we have done so far. We're approaching our 400th episode here with me, your host, Mac Jackson Jr. This episode is recorded on June 25th of 2022. Again, my name is Mac Jackson Jr. I'm a cybersecurity consultant and researcher. If this is the first time you've seen our show, folks, I will let you know that what we do on this show is provide you information on cybersecurity awareness news, tips, and interviews from cybersecurity experts from around the world that you could use to protect yourself and your business from the fastest growing crimes of the 21st century. I again want to thank everybody for being part of our show and contributing and giving me information and things that we can research on cybersecurity awareness to bring to you folks, our listening audience, and to the public worldwide that have been involved with us here for over 7 years. I also want to let everybody know I thank you all very, very much, and you can always find out more information about myself and my company. First of all, my website at macjacksonjr.com. That's macjacksonjr.com. And also on all social media platforms, you'll find me from Facebook to Twitter, Instagram. Look me up, folks. You can find me there. And remember to share, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button to find the latest updates on cybersecurity news that you can use today. But folks, one of the biggest things is that we're also on the Roku network. That's right, folks, we're the Roku network with a company called WWDBTV. You can find us there. Our shows are available to you worldwide streaming for your convenience. And folks, if you like what you see on our show, you can also support us by becoming a member on our Patreon channel, and that's at patreon.com/MacJacksonJr. In today's show, we're starting off with cybersecurity news, the rise of cyber attacks around the world, and what is the cybersecurity landscape, what's going on, and what can you do to protect yourself. We have some news you could use from that. In our second segment, we're going to talk about fraudsters, folks. Again, now we're talking about social media fraudsters. Especially what's recently happening in the news are the scammers and fraudsters that are appearing on LinkedIn. LinkedIn fraudsters, folks. It is really amazing what's going on there. We're going to cover in our second segment. And like we do every week in segment 3, we talk about what you can do to protect yourselves, folks, from these types of fraudulent activities. Remember, folks, listen to this segment, tell a friend. We must stay informed. In our first segment, cybersecurity news, the rise of cyber attacks. Folks, cyber attacks, as you heard on the show, are on the rise worldwide. Cyber fraudsters and hackers are looking for ways to get your information that they can steal from you, either from forcibly going into your account unbeknownst to you by using your identity and to getting money from your checking or financial institutions, or they're trying to get it to you by extortion using ransomware as a form of cryptocurrency to pay for these type of events. The ransomware attacks are on the increase, but now, folks, the fraudsters and criminals are asking for lesser money, but they're still having the same devastating effect. If you can kidnap data from an institution or a business and offer a smaller ransom, people are more willing to pay that amount than to contact law enforcement or find a backup to their information or data. These hackers are looking for quantity of these attacks versus quality and increase in rates. But folks, again, lots of companies are paying these types of ransom attacks, and other ones are saying no, they're not going to pay. They're going back to backups. And reasons why, folks, because they're becoming more educated on preventative measures. They're becoming more proactive. And you should do that too, becoming more proactive when it comes to these types of attacks. Now, if you're not familiar with what these type of attacks are, you may have heard of it, but you're not sure how it works, find out, do your research, go on Google and research it, or you can go to my website, folks, and find out more information on these type of attacks and what you can do to protect yourself. Now, it's just not the business, folks. These hackers also go after individuals as well and using these types of ransom attacks. The U.S. government, in its work with other federal agencies around the world, they are now collaborating with businesses and corporations and other organizations to bring to you information that you can do to protect yourself from these type of attacks. The heat is on, folks. The heat is on, and we're doing our best to fight this types of terrorist activity that are affecting us from around the world. I have a clip here I wanted to share with you from Bloomberg, from a company called Strikeforce. The CEO, George Krotz, talks about the cybersecurity landscape in our nation and what his opinion is, what we can do about it in defense of ourselves and our businesses. Take a look at this clip.
So what strikes you as different about this conference than years past?
Well, certainly we're in person, which I think both vendors and customers were really excited about. I think there's a really strong interest in security. It's something that I've talked about for a while. Even if we go into a difficult macro background, security is still going to be a top priority for boards and a top budgeted item to keep companies safe. So it's encouraging. Obviously, we're in that industry, but we're also focused on helping customers and consolidate their spend. And I think that's been a big focus. How do you consolidate spend in an area like security?
Now, there have been conflicting reports on the actual state of the cyber threat landscape. For example, ransomware attacks. Are they up or are they down?
Well, some of the dollar amounts are down, and I think there's two reasons for that. You've seen some movement in Bitcoin, right, as it's crashed, and when you calculate all this, it's down a little bit. But the other piece is when you think about Ukraine and Russia and some of the cyber crime, e-crime groups, they used to coordinate. Now, there's not a lot of coordination between the groups, and some of the groups have actually splintered and fractured off. So overall, it's still a really robust e-crime market. Ransomware is one of the top threats of the day, and people are still paying big dollars for it.
President Biden had warned about these retaliatory potential cyber attacks from Russia, but it doesn't seem like that has happened yet. Has it? Well, are we missing something?
Well, I think what's important to realize is that Russia continually has access to lots of systems around the globe. They're a very capable cyber adversary.
But it hasn't happened yet, right? I mean, it hasn't been as bad as certainly the president.
Well, and I think that's what I'm trying to say. They have access in lots of places, and once you start to destroy things, then your access tends to get figured out, right? And what people have to realize that in cyber war, it's a one-time use weapon. If something that's destructive is used, you can use it one time. The other piece that's interesting, and it's a broader question, is what a cyber attack, a destructive one now, constitute an act of war? And I think just given the changing geopolitical landscapes, it's unclear.
There have also been criticisms about Biden's approach to cybersecurity, pushing more responsibility on private companies. Kirsten Todd of CISA was also at RSA. She was here on the show. Take a listen to what she had to say.
Okay.
When we're talking about ransomware, I think the challenge with this issue is that we've created kind of a perverse structure. We in the United States have actually created a market, a very thriving, strong market in ransomware. We now have companies that charge, 6 figures to go on retainer to negotiate ransom, to get information about malicious actors.
What do you make of that? Did we create our own problems?
I don't know if we created our own problems. Obviously, when you look at the amount of money that can be gained from encrypting a system, I think the bad guys have figured out that if you can make $300 on one system, you can make a lot more by taking out an entire company. And it's just a function of the complexity of the technology environment and the fact that from a regulatory or maybe from a legal framework perspective, it's very difficult to bring these threat actors to justice because they're all over the place and a lot of times you can't get to them. So there's big dollars to be made in those areas.
Speaking of dollars, CrowdStrike's share price has dropped significantly with the rest of the market. What should investors be looking for over the next 6 months? And what do you have to say to folks who are maybe skeptical?
Well, I mean, I can't forecast the market, but when you look at our Q1 earnings and what we were able to display, and we talked about that last week, you look at the growth rate, 61% annual recurring revenue, almost $2 billion in annual recurring revenue. And that's combined an incredible growth rate at scale with cash flow generation, which is what investors are looking for. 32% free cash flow generation, $157.5 million for the quarter. We think that's the right recipe, and that's what we're focused on, executing and keeping our customers safe.
There are so many more cybersecurity companies at this year's RSA than there were even last year because so many new companies have been funded. Are they all going to survive? Are you worried about the future of some of these companies?
Well, I think security is a complicated landscape, and not every company, even ours, can handle everything in the security landscape in terms of specific areas. That being said, a lot of companies at RSA are features, right? They're not true companies or true platform companies, and a lot of them won't be public. And when we think about what's happening today, the public markets are locked up, so you have a lot of private companies with high valuations that don't really have an exit at this point. And when you think about the public market valuations going down, that's going to bleed off into the private markets. We've seen layoffs at some of these companies, and in fact, we think it's going to be an opportunity for better hiring because of just this lockup in the IPO market. And the second area is in the M&A front. We think there's going to be some great opportunities out there in the future.
Folks, as you can see, there is a lot going on in cybersecurity from around the world, and institutions and organizations as well as federal government agencies from around the world are looking into ways to protect ourselves. But what we could do, folks, is to stay vigilant and to stay aware. And what you could do, folks, is become a member of our community, of our Cybersecurity Awareness community here at Cybersecurity Awareness TV. Folks, there's a lot more we have for you today. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after a few words from our messages.
Hi, I'm Judy Mario. I'm an author, an artist, and an art teacher. And very often I get asked the question, how do I make money with my art? Well, I've answered that in the book that I've written called How to Turn Your Art into Cash, Branding and Marketing Your Creative Product. I've also covered things like how do you license your art? How do you exhibit in galleries and at art shows? And how can you make money online? Do you know there's over 200 websites where you can sell your art online? So grab a copy of the book today, How to Turn Your Art into Cash. You can find it on Amazon.com or on JudyMario.com.
Hi folks, welcome back to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr. This segment, we're talking about fraudsters in social media, In this segment, we talk about how the fraudsters are looking for ways of getting your money by using social media. The FBI has warned for all of us to be aware of fraudsters that are using social media as a way to get your money and your data. And let's talk about that. What does this mean? Well, while you're on social media is used as a platform where you can communicate and network with other like-minded people about your business and what you offer, your products, your services, very legally, and it provides a lot of communication between two entities that wish to talk about their businesses, right? And mostly everybody does it, especially professionals on LinkedIn. But these hackers are now using this convenience as a way to coerce or use it as a part of social engineering technique to befriend an individual and get them to do some investments. For example, here's an example I can give you, a personal one. Using a social media account called Instagram, I was asked by a stranger that I never heard of before that wanted to communicate about how my business was going, about cybersecurity, how to increase sales of my company. And as I'm talking with this individual to get to know who they are, they immediately says, well, what do I think about getting into cryptocurrency and doing some investments? This is someone that I never met, and they tried to approach me. Now, this sounds like a regular salesperson, right? In normal situations, someone that could even perhaps call you on the phone and ask you, are you interested? Then, of course, you'd hang up and move forward, right? But this was mainly on social media. They're trying to talk to you, get to know who you are. They're looking at your page. They're saying, hey, I like what you're talking about. This is really, really good. What do you think? Well, eventually, I told this person that I am a social media cybersecurity person, and I'm a researcher on cybersecurity, and this is what I do, and I look for fraudsters online. And then immediately, the communication stopped. There was no more contact. I then heard from other friends of mine that said that they got similar contacts from other people that are trying to get them to invest in so-called cryptocurrency using social media like LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn and Instagram, these social media outfits, the criminals will look at the actual profiles. You can go into a LinkedIn, you look at a profile of an individual. You see what they do, their position, their background. LinkedIn lets us put together our electronic resume online, right, to keep informed of what we do and our successes within life. Well, the bad guys take advantage of this information, read about you, and then try to get you to befriend you, that is, and to get you to invest in their social media, in their investment scams. Well, again, you must be vigilant. And in the words of a former president, I'm going to use his quote. There was a former great president that we had here that said, "Trust but verify." Now, you can find out who that president was, but I like that statement, trust but verify. In other words, someone sends you some information online, if you want to trust it, verify who they are. Do your research before you provide any information about you. But we'll talk more about that in our third segment. But in summary, I did not follow up any communication with this person on the end line on this particular message. I don't know if they were a fraudster or not. If I do continue to get information or invites to join this particular person online, I will then direct all of my screenshots and my messages over to the FBI and to the police department and report them. And if you get anything like this, I suggest you also report the information to your local and federal authorities, including the Federal Trade Commission, with the possible scammers' email address or their username, so they can follow up on this type of fraudsters. We must, again, stay vigilant about that. So that's an idea of some of the things that they do. With that said, we've done research here on our show regarding these types of social media types of scams that are looking for cryptocurrency investments, and we found several stories here we'd like to share with you. One of the clips is from CNBC on the threats of fraudsters on LinkedIn, followed by another clip we have from ABC News that I will play for you, then I'll give my commentary after the clip. Take a look at it.
With 830 million members, LinkedIn is one of the largest platforms in the world to find a job, make a business connection, or hear about career opportunities. But authorities say sophisticated criminals are using fake profiles on the platform to target business professionals with investment schemes. With her CNBC exclusive Link to Fraud, here's Yasmin Quorum.
How big of a threat is this on LinkedIn?
It's a significant threat.
Sean Reagan, special agent in charge of the FBI San Francisco and Sacramento field offices, says criminal rings are exploiting LinkedIn to lure users into crypto investment schemes by people offering financial advice, but who end up stealing the victim's savings. Reagan says the FBI is working closely with LinkedIn to combat the fraud. The FBI has opened investigations, but would not disclose specifics about pending cases.
Unfortunately, just like any other good thing, there are unscrupulous people, organizations, entities out there that want to take advantage of that platform as an opportunity to commit fraud and other criminal activities.
Are the criminals simply banking on the fact that they know there's someone out there who will take the bait?
They usually don't necessarily care who particularly the individual is. They're going to cast a wide net and see who falls into that net.
Like May So, a Florida benefits manager, she says she lost $288,000 to a fraudster on LinkedIn in just a few months. It all started with a routine request to connect with another LinkedIn professional.
I never think that would happen on LinkedIn at all.
Until she says that connection, which she believed to be a friend offering solid financial advice, convinced her to buy Bitcoin, using first a real investment platform and then eventually moving all her funds to a site controlled by the fraudster.
I'm sorry. Because the money that I save, every single dollar, I earned that with my own pain and hard working. It hurts.
The company acknowledges there's been a recent increase in fraud, saying we enforce our policies, which are very clear. Fraudulent activity, including financial scams, are not allowed on LinkedIn. We work every day to keep our members safe against fake accounts, false information, and suspected fraud. That's small comfort to other victims.
I lost $700K.
I lost 1.6 million.
I lost 1.3 million.
Mine was 189,000.
Mine is 300,000.
We were allowed to join this group of victims defrauded on LinkedIn that meets regularly over Zoom for emotional support.
Why do you all want to remain anonymous?
The business image I have in the community, and I just don't want this shared.
People kind of judge you, right? Like, oh, how come you're so stupid?
What's your message to these victims?
I would say to the victims that it's not their fault that they were victimized. It's the perpetrator's fault. It's the criminal's fault. And they spend their nights and days thinking about ways to victimize and defraud people.
Shep, LinkedIn's top privacy and security executive, did tell me the company took down around 32 million fake accounts in 2021 alone.
and that the company's automated systems usually catch 99% of scams and spam. As for Mei So, while a reversal in fortune, just this week she landed her dream job and she found it on LinkedIn. Shep?
Yasmin, where are all of these fraudsters operating?
Well, Shep, the global anti-scam organization tells me it's traced many of these fraudsters to boiler rooms in Southeast Asia, although the FBI confirms that these criminals really operate all around the world. I also spoke with several victims who have turned actually into scam baiters, now working with law enforcement to expose the people behind this crime. Shep?
CNBC's Yasmin Corum live in our San Francisco newsroom.
More people are apparently getting scammed on LinkedIn. The FBI says it's seeing an increase in cases of investment fraud. Users have reported losing small fortunes after connecting with someone on LinkedIn who they thought was giving them financial advice. These scammers usually pose as professionals and offer to help people make money through a crypto investment. LinkedIn acknowledged the problem. The company says it removed 32 million fake accounts last year.
Wow, folks, that is amazing. So the moral of these stories, folks, is to stay vigilant. If you are talking to someone on social media, which the reason why we sign up for social media anyways is to network and collaborate with like-minded people, investigate who they are. Do not investigate any cryptocurrency. People have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars and their life savings with these types of cryptocurrency scams. They would get their accounts frozen and locked up. Again, cryptocurrency, even the price for certain types of coins have gone down tremendously, and people have lost lots of money. So again, my advice to you is to stay vigilant and watch what's going on out there. Folks, we have more to come, but before we go into our commercial, I like to say, like we do every week, hashtag stay cyber woke. We'll be right back after these messages. Hello folks, this is Mac Jackson Jr. from Vanderson Cyber Group. The problem with businesses today is that they are affected by cyber attacks from around the world, but companies are not sure of what to do. Normally, they are reactive instead of proactive. But folks, cyber attacks can affect your bottom line, and it will affect you financially, legally, and your business reputation. Here at Vanderson Cyber Group, we can help you develop a policy by training your employees on what to do if they are involved in a cyber attack and how to mitigate it and fight against it. Folks, we call it here hashtag stay cyber woke. And that's Vanderson Cyber Group here in Las Vegas and around the world. You can reach me, folks, at VandersonCyberGroup.com or my website, MacJacksonJr.com as well. Here locally, 702-868-0808. Give us a call today, folks. We must fight back. Hi folks, welcome back to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr. In this segment is where we talk about what you can do to protect yourself. These are cybersecurity tips. As we talk about every week, folks, the first thing I want to tell you is to make sure that you have a strong password. We talk about that all the time, but I really want to emphasize it, folks, because passwords are the first door of security to your front door of your house. Just think of it that way. And think of it, my logic of telling you about changing your password is like changing your locks on the front door of your house after you have found that there's a possible intruder with your key to your front door. Now, immediately, if you knew that, you would immediately change your password. You would say, well, they're not going to get in. They're gone. They're not going to open my door of my house. Well, folks, you never know. That person could actually take that key and give it to somebody else, and someone else invade your house. It's your front door, and that's your security, your entrance to your websites that you visit. You just make sure that that password is updated and changed. Now, again, I emphasize if you cannot remember your passwords, and most of you shouldn't be able to remember it, because if you had a strong password, you wouldn't be able to remember it. You need a password management system. Find out about having a strong password management system by going to my website at MacJacksonJr.com, click on products and services, and look for a company called LastPass. That's right, folks, LastPass, and sign up for LastPass. It will be able to give that system, that is, LastPass, will be able to protect all of your passwords that you utilize for every website that you visit. Definitely check that out. Now, that's for passwords. The second thing we talked about is what we talked about in our show today, and that's by dealing with fraudsters and scammers that are trying to get your personal identifiable information on these social media networks. Again, folks, like I mentioned earlier, you need to trust but verify. If you're getting an opportunity or an offer from someone that you do not know about some sort of investment into cryptocurrency and the like, make sure that you find out who they are and make sure they're a legitimate company, because companies are out there looking at businesses that they can fraudulently steal information from. Now, folks, those are some of the things we recommend on our show here at Cybersecurity Awareness TV. There are lots more things that you could do. One of the things to do is make sure that your employees are trained in cybersecurity awareness education. You can find out more about that by going to my company's website called Vanderson Cyber Group. We'll help you put together policies and procedures for your business to protect you from these types of cyber attacks. There's lots of other things, folks, that we have for you. And like we do every week on the show, we give you the commentary and the clips and the news that you could use right now to protect your business. That's all we have for this week, folks. But I wanted to also let you know, if you need to get a hold of me, you know how to find me. And that's at MacJacksonJr.com, MacJacksonJr.com on all social media areas and networks, folks. Again, folks, hashtag stay cyber woke. Until next week, this is Mac Jackson. We'll see you then.